This is the brand new Wired Predator, and I think it's officially the most powerful e-bike on the entire market. It looks a lot like the original Wired Freedom, but the big upgrade here is the addition of dual motors. One hub motor in the rear and one in the front. You guys might know that I just reviewed the Anioki A8 Pro Max on the channel, and the key selling point here is the fact that this also has dual motors. And I called it one of the best dual motor bikes in the market, which is something I stand behind. So I want to go ahead and introduce this new Predator to you guys and do a quick preliminary comparison to see how it stacks up against the Anioki A8 Pro Max. I encourage you guys to go watch the full review of this bike, but a quick refresher. This thing, dual motors, the front is running 1600 watts, the rear 1900 watts. That's a combined power of 3.5 kilowatts. And whenever you have dual motors, you're gonna wanna have a large battery as well. And this thing is rated at 60 amp hours. So it's a huge battery and the voltage is 52. If you multiply both those numbers together, you get a total watt-hour capacity of 3,120. So this thing has power, a ton of range, and other nice things like full suspension and this unique, very comfortable kind of motorcycle bench seat. And this comes in at roughly $3,000 depending on ongoing sales and promotions. Now the new Wired Predator is pretty different. So the combined power here is an insane 6 kilowatts. The distribution here is 2,400 watts in the front and 3,000 in the rear. That doesn't fully add up to 6 kilowatts, but when you have a full charge, the peak power, it's usually a little bit more than that. Now, instead of having one huge battery like the Anioki, the Predator has two battery packs. The primary one is 20 amp hours, and the secondary battery pack, it's located on the rear rack, which is an interesting choice, and it comes in at 15 amp hours. And the voltage of both these battery packs is 60. That's a combined watt-hour capacity of 2,100. So the raw capacity isn't quite as high as the Anioki, but the voltage, I do want to hammer home that 60 volts is way better than 52. That was one of the things I complained about in my review of the Anioki. I don't expect all these bikes to be 72 volts quite yet, but I think 60 is a reasonable ask for a class of bike like this. And in case you're wondering, higher voltage equals higher top speed, more peppy acceleration, and just a more fun riding experience. And since the original Wired Freedom that I reviewed almost 2 years ago at this point, they did significantly upgrade the suspension. So the rear geometry, it's way improved. And new for the Predator, the front fork, it's inverted, dual crown, and just a lot more robust. So the suspension on this bike should be pretty good, and that's needed when you have high-speed bikes, because hitting a pothole at 20 miles an hour versus 40 miles an hour, it's a completely different beast, and you need to have good suspension in order to absorb that impact. Now let's talk a little bit more about the design of this bike, the frame, because this is largely unchanged from the Wired Freedom I reviewed. It's more of a regular kind of mountain bike design versus these more modified designs that most other e-bikes at this point implement. It has its pros and cons, I think mostly cons, but the pros include the bike looks more stealth, right? You would never expect this to be running at 6 kilowatts, and being that it's a regular bike frame, the pedaling ergonomics are maintained. Although realistically, you're probably not buying this bike to pedal, considering it has 6,000 watts of power. But the major con of keeping this a regular mountain bike is the size. This is easily one of the most massive bikes on the market. When I had my original Wired Freedom and I showed it off to my friends, that was the first thing everyone commented on, just how large the bike was. So if you live in a city or you have limited storage space, or if you're just a smaller person, this bike may not be for you. The other disadvantage of keeping a regular bike frame is the comfort. I already mentioned how you're probably not gonna be pedaling a bike like this, so why not do what Anioki did here and redesign the ergonomics a little bit, give you a much more comfortable seat to make the cruising experience more enjoyable. But overall, this new Wired Predator, it's clearly an epic bike. 6 kilowatts of power, 60 volt system, which I think all bikes should adopt as the new standard. And the price here is only $3,300. So a little bit more expensive than the Anioki, but the power, I think it's well worth it. I just wish the bike was redesigned with a bit more comfort in mind versus pedaling ergonomics, because I mean, you just don't pedal bikes like this. That's not why you buy them. And if you're gonna buy this bike, remember that it's large. It's physically a very big bike. But the bike certainly has my attention. I'm gonna reach out to them and try to get a unit to review on this channel for you guys. If you wanna see that, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.